else has been discriminated against at work, and how did you handle it? So let me tell you something. If you are black, brown, woman, anybody, it can happen to anyone. But how many of us have been called out of our name at our place of employment, and how did you handle it? Let's talk about it.
You got desires. I know. You got desires. I know. You got desires.
So guys, I was supposed to post this video on yesterday. Life just has been lifing recently, and wanted to put this out this week. So I am doing content now. As you can see, I am running a few errands, but guess what? I got my handy little DJI in place, and I can still drive and film. So just wanted to talk about discrimination in the workplace and how many people have encountered it. I know I've talked to a couple of my friends, and we have had this discussion actually after I had my incident, and talked about things that happened that we kind of subtly let go. And should we have let them go? I'm going to give you my story. And the reason I feel compelled to put my story out is because right now we are in a time, as we all can see, we are witnessing the change of the fabric of our nation. We are seeing a lot of the protections that have been in place for employees are being taken away. And so I know when I had an incident happen to me back in 2021, it was hard to navigate the space, right? So what happens to people that now are having to encounter this in this climate? So historically, let me tell you about what happened to me. I am in the healthcare industry. I am in healthcare tech. So I have been doing this for, I don't even know how long I've been doing it. Probably, we're going to go on 19 years. So I've been in this space for 19 years. I've worked on various systems, various environments, yada, yada, yada. So I, in 2019, decided that I wanted to kind of get away from what I was normally doing. I had been traveling a lot because that's part of my job to go check in on clients. And I was doing a lot of traveling to client site and really had just gotten burnout, right? So it was one of those things. I was with a great organization, had been there 5 years, but I kind of wanted to spread my wings, see what I could do. Didn't have a job per se on, dream job, but I wanted to figure it out. So I left my job December 2020. It may have been January. It actually was January 2020, left my job that I had been at in my team and decided I'm going to go work for another healthcare organization and be a consultant there. The consulting line, hey, it was good. It was good. I was an independent contractor. So nothing kind of changed with my life. I was making, pretty good money, just being a one-man shop and working for this client. But it didn't take long. Next thing, here we go. We are in a global pandemic. I will say if I would have known then what I knew now, I probably would have waited a little while to spread my wings before I went to another, job. But hey, it happened. No mistakes were made, right? So I am consulting, and we're seeing the stock market crash. We're seeing, the world shut down. And mind you, I was already a remote employee. And so that wasn't going to change anything about me. I had been working at home for at least 12 years prior to that. So not a big deal, working from home. But what was different is the market uncertainty. What is going to go on with these companies? Are they going to be laying off people? Like, what is really going on? And I felt like as a consultant, I would be one of the first people to go. You're paying big bucks for a consultant to be at a company. And so when we have to start trimming the fat, then guess what? Consultants go. So when March happened, we kind of made it through March 2020, made it through January 2021. And I said, okay, I am tired of being on pins and needles. It's time to start looking for jobs. And jobs were opening at different corporations. So part of me is I'm a continuous learner. So I wanted to learn more about different facets of healthcare. There are so many different things that you can do, especially with systems. So research was the next on my list. So I'm looking for jobs, and what pops up? A research company, a small research company that was looking for someone. It checked all the boxes. It was remote. I'm going to be learning something different and bringing my expertise. Like perfect. Went through several rounds of interviews, eventually was offered the job end of February, started mid-March, I want to say. So got to the company. Now, mind you, this is a smaller organization. So I had one person that I had really been speaking with. There was one HR person that was there. And then my direct supervisor. When you interview at a small company, you get ingrained into their culture. Like immediately you meet everyone that you need to know. You're going to have multiple interviews because you're going to meet their whole team. I mean, directors, senior directors, and C-level. And so again, it checked all the boxes. There were no red flags. It was just an exciting experience. So first day onboarding with HR, I knew during the interview process that they were expanding their operation, especially due to what was going on in 2020. So they were expanding and they were going to hire a few more people. If anybody knows the industry that I'm in, and healthcare tech, it is not riddled with Black women, not even Black men. It is not a heavy populated world, not male dominated, in Black male dominated, definitely not, or Black women. So on my very first day, we're setting up for onboarding, and I knew that they had hired someone. I was super excited. Found out it was two people, but okay, I get there and there are two other African American people that are starting at the same time. And I was super excited to see that, but it did raise a red flag because if you had all the positions that were open, what made you decide to hire all Black people? Keep that in your back pocket because, of course, it will come up later. So, just move forward. We are all ready to go. We bond because you know how it is. You bond with people that you have similarities to. So that was our team. Two of us ended up on the same team, one on a different team. So I guess, we're checking in, doing our monthly check-in meetings, seeing how things are going, any challenges, anything we can help each other with. Everything was good for a while until it wasn't. And when it wasn't, it wasn't. So I recall it was a lot of turnover with engineers. And, and I'm not saying this, I hope this doesn't come off wrong, but a lot of our engineering staff at that company, and mostly where I have worked, they are not American. Heavily dominated with Indians in our, engineering world. So we started seeing a lot of engineers leaving and, things that day-to-day activities were really drawn out. It was no vision of what the long-term goal was, which made it very, very hard for someone to scope out work. So I want to say after a couple of quittings, one of the C-level employees became the manager of our team, was really wanting to, see what was going on. And I remember us having a conversation and them saying that they needed to come onto this team because they knew it was some dissatisfaction with employees and they wanted to see how they could mitigate it. Were there any things that we had seen that caused any alarm? At that time, there was no alarm that I had as an employee. Things are going well. I just noticed people were leaving. I remember working on a project with someone else. And he was a VP level, and him bringing up a conversation that he encountered with another senior VP that was very troubling, and it had some racist connotations in the conversation. And that individual said, this is normal. And this is probably why people are leaving. So I took that, put it in my pocket and said, okay, It didn't bother me. I hadn't witnessed it until I did. So around July, I'm having a meeting with this individual going over some things that we need to do next steps for a project. And guess what? Lo and behold, we're on a WebEx call, he and I, going well. This is somebody that I interviewed with. And there was a question about something that was very, very technical. And I said, I don't understand this. This isn't something that I don't know code, which wasn't a requirement of my job. And he was like, oh, no, no, no. I didn't expect, you to. And he was like, because we don't want a whole bunch of monkeys just jumping around doing things. And I was taken aback because monkey connotation with African Americans, we kind of know where that is, right? Took a step back. I said, okay, this is where we're going. Okay. So I sat on it. I remember coming home, waiting on my husband to come home and telling him what happened. And he was like, what? And I said, yeah. But mind you, I have only been at the job maybe 4 months. So we're in the heart of 2020 Black Lives Matter protests. Everything is going on. It's just a wild time. So not ideal to get back into workforce, especially with the dynamic of the country, the way that it is. So fast forward, I kind of kept it to myself. There were little things that were happening. And then we had another engineer that quit. All of these people that quit were under the man that made the monkey remark. And so I started putting two and two together, and I said, maybe I need to have some conversations because this is bothering me. I want to talk to somebody. So I set up an appointment with HR. HR meeting was very dismissive, and we all know HR is for the employee. HR is there at the pleasure of the company to make sure they are doing the things right, so they won't be sued. During that meeting, before I skipped, I remember telling the HR representative about the conversation, and question that was asked to me was, in what context was that being said? That took me back because I don't know what other context it was. If it's two people on a call and you're making a monkey reference, are you talking about me? Because there's nobody else here. It was inappropriate, even if it wasn't directly, hey, Stacey's a monkey. It's inappropriate because those are not words that you use, yada, yada, yada. So that didn't sit well with me because it didn't seem like there was a problem or they were okay with it. So I moved forward and I said, okay, I'm contemplating what I need to do. I did have a chat with my then direct manager who was on the C-level. So we had this conversation about what happened, why it made me feel the way that it did. And her, she was very, very apologetic. She did say that there had been conversations that were had with this particular individual. But then it made sense on why there were 3 African-American people that started at the company at the same time as me. She let it be known that they made sure that when they were doing the interviewing, that they wanted brown candidates. They wanted to check the box. She did not say that she wanted to check the box. And it was okay to bring in talented people because everyone that they brought in had over 10 years of experience. So it wasn't a DEI situation. It was, there are federal funds available at this point because we're in the middle of COVID. They were a smaller business. Come to find out, they had COVID funds because they were a smaller organization. And they hired minorities. It looked good for them. It also made sense on their COVID policies that they had in place, which were completely strange than anybody else that I had talked to. Even with vaccination policies, time off to go get vaccinated if you have some type of reaction. Hey, you have a week off. Don't worry about it. You're not using PTO, except for you have a COVID bank of time. And it made sense because they were really adhering to, federal funding and wanting to be the employer of choice during this time. So it made sense. But it didn't matter that you had people there. You were treating them wrong. Um, Throughout, like in between the time that I met with HR and met with her, it was confirmed that several other people had left because of the racist comments that were made towards them. Monkey would seem to be the go-to word for people. Um, so after my meeting with my manager, I put it all into perspective, had a conversation at home with my husband, and he said, well, you don't have to take that. You don't have to work there. Just don't worry about it. Like, just take some time off. We are. I'm someone that loves to work. I love paycheck. I like to do my job. I actually enjoy what I do. So I went on vacation probably for about a week, and I really prayed about it, and I wanted to see what was best for me long term. And I came back from vacation and had my resignation letter typed up. I was going to give it the end of the day upon returning. But I wanted to go ahead, and nobody knew that this is what I was doing other than my household. And we moved forward with, my meetings for the rest of the day. I had a meeting with said offender and other people, and it was something about one of our huge clients, but it was an internal call. And he made the comment again, the monkey comment, and laughed about it. This call was recorded. And at that point, I knew I was making the right decision because I had prayed, if this is where I'm supposed to be, then, this is what will happen. So fast forward, I put in my resignation letter. Of course, turned it in that day. I got calls that afternoon about what could we do? Would I want someone else's team? That's not even the problem. I think what the issue is you have someone that is in senior leadership that is friend with executives that has been a known offender. And so moving and shuffling people around the company is not how you resolve the issue, right? So I didn't feel like that was the best choice for me, but if that's what they wanted to do, they would do it without me. So prior to now, let me just go back a little bit. When all of this happened, I started making clear documentation about everything that I've done. And I will warn everybody, if you encounter any situation at work, make sure you document it. You never know when you have to go back to it. Put in my resignation. I really didn't have too much time off because I was being vetted by another company. So I pretty much went into a new job. But as I started my new role, I did want to explore any opportunity that I could with legal, because you don't want anybody to encounter what you've encountered, said company. There are laws against this. It should not be happening. So as soon as I left, I did make sure that I filed a complaint with the EEOC. And I went online, provided my details to them. Once you provide that, they stated that they would follow up with me. And the next step, of course, in that process is to have an interview. The interview for me took a while to even get on the schedule, and it wasn't a big deal because I'm at another job. I didn't want this brushed under the rug because how many other people have encountered this, right? So it took maybe a few months to have that interview. And after them hearing from the company, my interview, they reached out to the organization to see if we wanted to just kind of mediate the issue and see exactly what was going on. At this point, I hired an attorney, and we just said, okay, we'll go to mediation and see exactly, what's going on, and to see if they're going to admit any fault, because there was never an apology for what happened. It was just kind of normal business. So we had mediation. I want to say it may November, right before the holidays of that year, when we had mediation. Mediation was really just unproductive. They did not really take any ownership of what happened. The only thing that they could tell us that that person was no longer managing employee, had been demoted, but was still with the organization. It was just a lot of fluff, and we are still in the Zoom world. So my mediation took place over my attorney and myself were in a room. They were in a room, breakout room. So we'd go back and forth. And I think after 2 iterations, my attorney said this is a waste of our time. So we will move forward. If they want to pick up talks on another day when they feel like they have the right people at the table, then we definitely can, but it's no need to waste time. So we ended mediation. They never reached back out to my attorney. But EEOC did send over a right to sue, which led to me taking legal action against the company. So it is a long, belabored process, but I say all this to say, we see how the world is changing. We see how federal programs are being stripped. Things like EEOC, I'm sure that they have been dwindled down and have very, very few employees there that make it the timeline even longer. I say this to each of you. If something occurs at your job, make sure the first time it happens, make sure you are documenting everything. Racial discrimination, age discrimination, sexual discrimination, or harassment is not okay. Do not allow something like that to happen in not reporting. You need to protect yourself. I know that, we're in the midst of a potential recession and people are wondering, am I going to have a job? Yes, we all want to have a job, but we also want to be safe. And you cannot be safe in an environment where you are not valued or you are being treated like a human. Being called a racial slur is not what we are supposed to be encountering at a job when we're here just to do our jobs. We don't do that to our clients. We don't do that to our peers. So that should not be happening to us. So if anyone encounters anything like this, again, mine was racial. So, you call me a monkey, you might as well call me the N-word. Anything happens like this, friends, make sure you're documenting and know that there are agencies out there to help you. The first step that I would always do is to file an EEOC complaint. And if you have the means, try and find and hire an attorney to let you know. Having an attorney goes a long way. Because probably if we look back at this, if I wouldn't have had an attorney, I probably mediation probably would have just been what it was. And I would have said, okay, well, this is right, and let's move forward. You have right. Exercise your rights. Just because the dynamic and the shift of the world is happening doesn't mean that we have to tolerate it. If anybody has questions or has gone through a situation like this, let me know. I will do anything that I can to help. I felt like this story time was needed, especially in the climate that we're in. People might not have resources. I am here to help. I am a lifestyle content creator. I am influencer. I am a content creator. I'm going to do a lot more story times because I've had some interesting things happen in my life. Let's go ahead and share those things. This could be an opportunity to help someone else. I also do a podcast. So I do a podcast with a couple of my girlfriends. The podcast is A Collective Pod. I have a couple of videos there. You guys can check it out. And it's really just friends getting together and talking about this thing called life. We try and share as much information and knowledge as we can. That's what we're supposed to do. So if that's something that you're interested in, hey, go ahead. Find the A Collective Pod on YouTube and follow us. Give us a follow, subscribe, like, turn on notifications. We have new episodes out every Thursday. We're also on all of the socials, same way. But you know what? This is what we need to be doing. And this time we're going to have to depend on each other. So if we can help each other, I am more than willing to help. If you are subscribed to me, guess what? Subscribe. It's free. I don't have any little groups where I'm asking anybody to pay. Subscribe if you like this comment, if you felt like it was helpful, like, and comment below and I will reach out if I can, or maybe just your comment can connect you with someone else. That is what we are here for. So this is a car story time about work and being discriminated against at work and how should you handle it. I hope everyone has a great day and I will talk to you soon. I'm going to try and do story times more often than not, but content will be on my page. Everyone have a great day. Love you all. Bye.